Okay folks, this is Colonel Sanders again. So this is a Ram 2500 4x4 with a Cummins engine, 6.7. It's a 2014. I bought it in April of 2014. The biggest issue I've had with the truck was the rear axle. This has got a 342, just like all 2500s do. I had a howling noise in the ring and pinion gear. So they agreed to order a complete rear axle, and we replaced that, and it's been fine ever since. A couple of little minor things I've had was solenoid on the grid heater was throwing a code when I would on cold mornings. And a little minor thing with the seat cover. Some of you that have this truck might know about it. It's just a little clip that comes undone underneath the seat cover. These seat covers can be changed. You don't have to have them reupholstered or anything like that. So it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing the way it was designed. I haven't had any problems since that initial, and all of those issues occurred when the truck was virtually brand new. I haven't had anything in over 20,000 miles. But those are the only issues I've had with the truck. I use it about 60%, maybe 50% towing and 50% what you'd call grocery getting, which is just local. It does well either way. It doesn't seem to mind. I get more regens when I'm driving locally naturally. It never regens on the highway or when I'm towing. It's because there's enough exhaust heat to burn the soot, so there's no issues there. Well, when I first got the truck, I was a little concerned about it using DEF. I thought that was going to be a big deal because a lot of the trucks previous to this didn't use the DEF fluid, but that's turned out to be nothing. That's a non-issue. It uses about a gallon every 1,000 miles, and that's under heavy towing conditions. So as far as what I don't like about the truck, there's really not much I can say that I don't like. I changed the oil myself, so the thing that I would say I don't like about the truck is where the oil filter is located, and anybody that has one of these trucks knows what I'm talking about, because it is a bitch to get to the oil filter. It's kind of a learning curve. You might have seen some of my videos on oil change. I go through the wheel well, and it gets easier each time, but hopefully eventually Ram and Cummins will get together and locate that filter where it's not such a bear to get to. But that's really the only thing I can say negative about the truck. There's so many positive things about it. It rides great, considering that it's a very stiff truck that can handle a lot of load, but it's got the progressive springs in the rear, so it's much better than the 5.9 that I had previous to this. Rides a lot better. When you hook it, I bought it primarily to tow my travel trailer, and when you hook a load to it, it rides beautiful. The gas fuel mileage has been really good. It's been much better than I thought it would be. Can't complain about that at all. Now I'm just sitting here doing 55 miles an hour, but you can see that the fuel usage is around 30 miles per gallon. I know that's just an instantaneous reading and all of that. It's not going to do that well, over the long haul, but it's amazing how well it's done on fuel. I can easily get 23, 24 on the highway, depending on how fast I'm driving. At 70 miles an hour, probably 23. And in town, I usually average about 16. And that's according to the my favorite screen here because it shows you all of your most important data right there on the panel, and you know, your coolant temperature, your transmission, oil pressure. So I just leave it there most of the time. I plan on keeping it for a very long time. In fact, I was over at the dealer the other day and I saw a lot of trucks in the lot, and new ones, 2016, 2017, and I couldn't see a thing on any of them that I liked enough to even consider trading this truck. You know, the few bugs that I had in it, we got them worked out, and it's just been really dependable. I've been all over the country in this truck, towing our camper. You know, anybody considering buying a Ram, you know, after 2.5 years owning one, I sure don't have any issues with it. You can see we're going along here at about 55 miles an hour in 6th gear, and what are we doing, about 1100 RPMs. This is a good ratio to have because the 342 rear axle gives you really good fuel mileage when you're not towing. When you're towing and you're in a tow mode, then you're towing in 5th gear, and I think that's equivalent to about a 430 something rear axle ratio. So it's a really good gear for towing and the tow mode, and you've got so much torque on this engine that it'll handle a hell of a load. So for my needs, my travel trailer, I can't see needing any lower rear axle, and this truck is rated to tow way up there around 14 to 16,000 pounds. I don't even know exactly, but another thing I love about this truck is this GPS. I'll go on Google Earth and get the coordinates of wherever I'm going, and I'll punch them in to the GPS, and it'll take me right there within just a few feet of wherever I need to go. So that's a really good way to navigate. But you know, I can't sit here and just continue to say I love my truck, I love my truck, I love my truck, but I love my truck, and it's been a great truck. I did have a few issues at first. They had some, I think, a bad batch of rear ends initially, but I mean, you can hear this truck right now. It is very, very quiet, and it's pretty smooth riding for a big 3/4 ton. Some people don't like using that term, 3/4 ton, 2,500 size truck. You know, this truck is almost 9,000 pounds, and I put the Line-X bed liner in it when I first got it, and it's like new. The truck sits tall. I like that. But it will go through a car wash. The emissions have not been an issue. I thought it would be, but it hasn't. I've had, you know, the Cummins has got a pretty good, they've got that well designed. The DPF filter burns the soot off when it needs to. It's all behind the scenes. You don't even know it's happening. But we've been everywhere with this truck, all over the United States. We just came back from Utah, Zion National Park. We camped out for a week in the Dixie National Forest. Truck did great. And we hit some really strong headwinds going out. You know, from Wichita Falls headed west, you're climbing from about 1,000 feet elevation all the way up to 6,500 or so, 6,000 or so. by the time you get to Page, Arizona. And then from there we went on up to 8,500 feet. But we put it through a pretty good test that trip. But I did the year before in the Rockies too. It just seems like the more you try to abuse it, the more it says, don't worry about the mule, just load the wagon. This 6-cylinder inline long stroke Cummins is a great design, great engine. There's still a lot of torque left they can get out of this engine. It's really loafing along. But that's my little poor boy update. So I guess I'll conclude like I always do by saying thanks for listening and adios.